Hello, welcome to the Lone Show. I'm your host, John Malone. In this episode, I haven't brought any guests because, well, issues. But anyway, as for our guest, he's from New York, he owns a training studio, and a whole lot more. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Oscar Smith.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me also on your show.
Anytime. So, how's life?
It's pretty good. I can't complain after everyone getting over this COVID-19 pandemic for the world, I should say, and people getting back to being active and, just getting on their lives and adjusting. So, which is nice. And plus, in New York here, we had a little bit of an up and down of wintertime. So it's heading back into spring, so which is great, or heading into spring, I should say, which is a
Okay.
quite nice thing, going on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Are you up to much recently?
Pardon?
Are you up to much recently?
Oh no, not too much actually. Just usually what happens in the fitness world and with gyms, most people once the weather breaks, you do see a huge increase. Unlike what people think, it's like New Year's resolution. Usually on April, May, a lot of people join in gyms or want to start a new workout routine to kind of lose that COVID or I should say winter weight.
Okay. So, what got you started to make your own training studio?
I started back in 1991 as a trainer working at a gym and basically, just learning as I was going when I was in college as well, finishing up. And then, just saw the need that people just needed kind of guidance. Not everyone's an athlete. And I was very blessed that I was always athletic. So since I was a kid, I was always either track and field, football, basketball, baseball. And then, I took it a step further where I became a gymnast and I wanted to go to the 88 Seoul Olympic Games. And I was training for that. And then, just learning from the other different trainers from different sports just made me quite interested in the human body and how it works. And from there, I just basically wanted to enhance and, study a little bit more on the functions and the movement of the body, basically like the access points and which way it goes and how it works completely. So it just got me really involved in putting the two together, just, with fitness and then training. It just kind of seemed just work naturally.
Hmm, okay, nice. And how many people on average come to your training studio?
Well, I keep a very small client list, basically, because I had a big studio at one point with trainers for me, working with me and working for me and stuff like that. And one of my clients said to me, he was like, Oscar, we love your gym. Your gym is great. We love it, but we come here for you. And so to me, I found it to be a disservice when people want to come and get my expertise and knowledge and guidance when I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't train you. You can only, I can give you so and so or this person. So basically, I downsize it to a smaller studio. So basically, I keep a client list of no more than 15 people. Majority of my clients have been with me for over 10 years. So from professional athletes to actors, directors, models, you name it, CEOs. Majority of them, they all know that. They like, I'm not losing them, so I'm going to keep it. Average, I do about 6 to 7 hours a day of training.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah. But
So,
thank you. But it's a journey, like I explained to everyone. I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago. You constantly are learning and just growing. And that's the whole thing when I tell everyone when you start off on any business, you got to keep your mind open and adjust and learn. That's the key thing. You're going to make mistakes, and mistakes are great because that's a learning process. So
okay,
that's very important. And listen to your clientele. So I listen to my clients. They're like, what do you need? What do you not like? What do you like when it comes to the gym itself? What equipment you like to use, or water, what type of water, or drink, or anything else like that. So it's very important.
okay. Yeah, I agree with that. So, so in your training studio, when you do teach your clients, or what kind of fitness, what ways, different exercises do you teach them?
Well, that's a great question because what it is, everyone's different. So if I have, let's say, a pro athlete, let's say for football, we're going to work on strength, agility, and speed. When you have someone who's like, let's say, a surfer, a pro surfer, you're looking at basically balance and endurance more than anything else. And then you take like someone who's a boxer, they got to learn all their footwork, the basic technique, and you're working on a skill set level. So and that's all that with them. You're working on putting together combinations and each one to be as strong as the first one. Like I always say, when boxers hit, your first 50 punches are your strongest punches are going to go after that, but you want to keep that and maintain it. That's muscle endurance compared to strength. And I say everyone a real simple way analogy is that is like you want to pick something up really heavy once, or you want to pick something up like multiple times. That's muscle endurance compared to strength. So to answer your question simply, every individual I train, I design basically workouts just for them, depending on what their goals are. So everyone is different. And a lot of times I explain to my clients, what happens is that we're going to work on your weak points to make them strong points. That's the goal. I already know what you're going to be strong at. Once I find that out, we're not going to touch that until I bring you where you're completely even with each one. So if your shoulders are weak, or your chest is weak, or your endurance is weak, or stamina, we're going to work on that. So gradually, like climbing the rungs of a ladder, step by step.
Okay, that's great. So one of our regulars, Eric Taylor, has mysteriously appeared into the studio. So Eric, with what we discussed thus far about his training studio and different exercises, anything you want to ask him?
When did you start your training studio?
My studio opened up in December 2003.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
And
impressive.
yeah. So what encouraged you to open up this training studio?
Honestly, I was working for another trainer, basically another gentleman who owned a studio, and I made a couple of suggestions to him after 6 months of working for him. And he said, the worst thing you can say to someone, oh, you think you know so much, go open your own place. Within a month, I did. That's what
Hmm,
got me started.
wow. All right.
Yeah.
So a month in. So after a month, you just opened the studio.
Correct. I said, you know what? Let me just take that plunge. I did a lot of research, which I explained to everyone is very important. Research, make sure you know the demographic of the area. Also, the biggest thing when opening a business is the location. So you want an area where a lot of people can come in, basically the neighborhood doesn't have. It's like, think of a hot dog cart. If there's one hot dog cart in a corner and, there's no one else, you definitely have that entire monopoly of that area. But if there are 50 hot dog carts, what do you want to be another one for? And I never understood that when gyms open up right next to each other, or supermarkets or boutiques, unless there's something specific you have there. So I designed a studio to be personal training. And I said I put personal back into training. And that's what I wanted to, pay quite attention to detail and to the clients. It's all about your clientele, which is very important.
Yeah, that's true. It's very important.
So what do you like about being a personal trainer or having your own training studio?
Well, of course, one, the hours. You make your own hours when you want. You get there to a level. What it is that every goal of every trainer is eventually, hopefully, some, not all, some to open up their own places. Plus, also, it's picking and choosing the clients you want. That you want to get to that level where you are training celebrities and athletes and things like that, where you're recognized in your field for who you are and what you do. And, I think it just, it's a very broad, spectrum of what people, it's as a trainer, like, what is your goal for this? Like, because back in the 90s, trainers were like bartenders. There was like one everywhere. Everyone was like, oh, I'm an actor, bartender, trainer, because it was just the hours are great, for you to do so. So for me, I just took it to the next level. I just said, okay, I'm going to be really, really good at this. And I need to know, what do I need to do to get to that next level, that next step?
Okay,
Hmm,
great.
okay. And you said something about like you wanting to get to that point about training like celebrities. Have you ever trained any celebrities? Like any recent ones?
I train quite a few. If you can always, I tell everyone, just simply Google Oscar Smith trainer, and it speaks for itself what comes up.
All right, I'll make sure to do that late. I'll make sure to do that after the podcast.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
What it is also is that when you start training celebrities or pro athletes, remember, you are just an employee to them. And that's the whole thing I explain to a lot of people, that you might know this one or that one and have everything else. Two things they look forward to is, one is a great session with you and achieving their goals. Also is the privacy. So for a lot of guys who do Instagram and all that other stuff, and all the social media stuff, it backfires on you. And I explain that to a lot of people, that you might not want to put too much stuff on there and content, maybe the who, what, where, and why about your business and what you do. And that's just for all businesses. If you keep going like, oh, I want a photo of you of this and that. It was funny when I wrote a book and I was like, oh, wow, I don't have any pictures of my clients. I'm like, well, then again, I'm not standing there taking pictures of myself with them, or, hey, let me get you doing a set, doing this or whatever it is. I'm like, and it just, when you come about to training at that level, people look at you because not only your ability, but also the fact that you are a very private person. You're not worried about compromising them in certain situations or anything else like that. Or I hate it that when you meet people and they just name drop like crazy. You're like, oh, okay. You're just like, all right, enough. They're just trying to, validate themselves for what they are. I'm like, you already know who you are and what you do. It's like, there's a great story that I heard years ago. There's a race between a cheetah, a horse, a greyhound, and a rabbit. So they all line up and get started at the race. Gun goes off, boom, all the animals take off. The cheetah sits down. The race instructor, referee goes, what are you doing? He says, it's insulting to prove something I already know that I'm best at.
Yeah.
My point of that is, when you know you're great at something, you don't have to go and try and prove it to everyone. That's the whole point. And that's the thing. When you meet pro athletes, they have that confidence level, and that they sound conceited or they seem narcissistic. They're not really. They just have that confidence level of being at that, that 1% where they are in that sport or field, whichever they are. Doctors are that way. Lawyers are that way. Everyone in professional race car drivers, everyone is just like, okay, because you have to have that ability to be like, no, I train hard. I don't think about, oh, what if this happens or that happens? I know I've done this before and before, repetitive, or repetition, becomes second nature. It's like breathing. You don't think about breathing. You just naturally do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
that's a
certainly
very
heard that. Yeah, I've certainly heard that saying once, and it's really good.
yeah, yeah. You did make a, and you made a great point about how it's insulting at the fact that you have that you have to prove that you're good at something. Well, the fact that no one has to prove that they're good at something if they already know that they're good at it. That's a really good point. I never really thought of it that way. I don't know.
So what are the high and low points of being a trainer?
High points are always that when you are, like all businesses, you are successful, and success is a different definition for different people. It could be that you opened a gym, great, you feel successful, you did that. The other thing is that some people go, I have tons of money in the bank. For other people, it's like, hey, you know what? I have $1 left over. Is my business success if I pay all the bills and my staff and everything else like that? Low points are always come about where, how do I get clients? The biggest thing in the fitness industry of any gyms, like that of a restaurant, how do you get people to come in? You can have the best trainer, the best, location, the best equipment, everything else, but no one knows who you are. So marketing is a big thing. And marketing starts with really simple. Know your clientele. Be very, like keep an open ear, like listen to them. Because there's nothing worse, like what people do now. Our communication is completely gone, where people just want to talk over each other all the time. And that's our lovely political system now in the United States. Just everyone screaming at each other that they know how to figure everything else out. Instead of going, no, that's a great point. Let's try and figure that out. So listening to your clients, that was the biggest thing. I was talking to one of my clients this week about that customer service. There's no more customer service in any of the big businesses. They're like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Go talk to our chat bot. Like, you can't get anyone on the phone. to really listen to you and what you have to say. So the low points mostly in training or any gym business or that of any business is that getting the clientele in that you want, or just, customers. And that always happens. It's up and down. And that's the only thing of training. You can be super busy. And then next month you can have nobody. And that has happened to me in the past in the beginning where I'm like, oh, wow, I'm training 20, 30 people, 40 people a week. I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm running around and doing my thing. And then the next month, we're like, wow, I'm training one person a week. What happened? It's like, oh.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you were to open any other kind of business, what would it be?
Funny enough, I wanted to open up a coffee shop.
Okay. Any
Like a
any
little,
reason?
not just, there was there's a guy who owns a little boutique news store, a little shop with soda and things like that and candy. He's located in Ipanema in Brazil. And every day I would go down, every time I would go to Brazil and go stay at one of my favorite hotels there, and then go for my run and swim in the morning on the beach. I would see him all the time. He would sit there and he was always so pleasant. And it just reminded me that he was just so happy. Here's a retired guy. He has this little newsstand, coffee, a candy shop, whatever, right on off the beach. And he just seemed so happy. And just like his life was just like he was so happy. If I sold a candy bar, great. If I didn't, no big deal. Every morning says hello to everybody, stuff like that. It just kind of reminded me like if I had a coffee shop, I'll have a small little do nothing coffee shop where I'm like, hey, you want a coffee? Sure, no problem. Don't worry about it. It's on me. Just for that, just meeting and greeting different people every morning. And that was kind of like a kind of a cool concept to me. Of course, it'll be down by the beach somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. Great. So, how did you start your fitness journey from the start?
When I was working at a gym, a guy came up to me and he said, you're looking really great shape. And I was like, all right, dude, leave me alone. You're kind of weird. Whatever. You're freaking me out. And he said, no, I want to pay you and just to follow to do what you do, as in just follow me around the gym and how I work out. And I was like, that's kind of weird. And then he said to me, do you know what a personal trainer is? And I was like, I have no idea. I never heard of that. And he said, that's someone who trains people. At that time, it was all for stars, like big time celebrities. It's like having your own private chef. So he explained that to me, and that's how I got started.
Yeah. Okay. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, that's a very interesting way to how you started your training studio. It's great. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Do you have any pets?
I have 3 big dogs. I have a Great Pyrenees, I have an Alaskan Malamute, and I have a Lab mix.
Wow. Oh, it's quite a selection.
Yeah.
Great. Do you travel often?
I do travel a lot. Fortunately, since the COVID, though, I haven't been. My recent trip was to Galapagos Islands. I explained to
Wow.
everyone travel is a great thing because it opens and broadens your mind. Plus, I like to see, like I tell everyone, I want to go see the pyramids. I want to touch, the hieroglyphics, which were kind of cool when I was in Egypt. I want to go to Machu Picchu. I tell everyone travel is a great thing because it also allows you to do something you're not used to. So when you go like somewhere exotic, go get on a bike, scooter, car, go explore that area just a little bit, meet with the locals. It's a great feeling. But back to touch about dogs is that I explain to everyone, when you have an animal, any kind of pet, you have to walk that pet. So right away, you're getting a good 20 to 40 minutes every day of some sort of cardio exercise by you walking the dog every day. So you're getting out of the house and getting around, which is great because it gets you going where you're going to go play with the dog. You're going to do things with them. It's the same thing when, people feel that, oh, I just feel like I'm never going to get out or something like that. The dog has to go out. So he forces you to go out and get going. So I'm a big, advocate when it comes to pets. One of my dogs I got is from the shelter, which was rare that they had such a breed there. And, but travel also is a great thing. And I have to say that a travel bug got to me when I started training a lot of models from around the world, all the supermodels and stuff like that, from Victoria's Secret to Sports Illustrated, and them telling me where they're from. And I'm like, oh, I want to go to St. Petersburg, or I want to go to Brazil. And that's when I went to Brazil a few times and I fell in love with the place. And I would go there 4 times a year just to go and surf and hang out. I'm like, all right, just to kind of recharge.
Okay, interesting. Is there any place that you haven't been to but you really want to go to?
I would like to go to Bhutan and then also Tibet.
Oh, okay. Any specific things you want to see?
I just want to go and immerse myself in their culture a little bit. Like I did a tour around Southeast Asia, from Thailand to Myanmar, now formerly Burma, before that closed down. I just want to go and see and experience, the different cultures of people around the world, and just, immerse myself into what they do. Because it's wild, because I would like to go to Mongolia also, because, they have their way of their lifestyle and how they do things, like, and fitness wise. And that was the coolest thing, like in Southeast Asia, seeing how like a real Thai massage is done, and real Thai boxing and kickboxing. It was quite interesting seeing, how they grew up with that. And
Okay.
then, different, like when I went to Cape Town and, was in South Africa, then explored a little bit, which was quite dangerous, which I found out, just getting off on your own. You kind of can't do that anymore. You have to be careful. But just seeing, like the people who run, surf, bike, just a different lifestyle, box, or just, pick up different things of, types of training, which is interesting. So
Great. So, what was the highlight of your week so far?
getting my dog not to climb up on the bed and wake me up at 5 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, highlight of my week so far was actually I got in the water on Sunday. I got in and put on my wetsuit and my gear, and actually went for a little body surfing session here in New York. The weather jumped up a little bit to like 50 degrees and it was sunny, so I got to go play in the water, which was nice.
Nice. If you could erase one past experience, what would it be?
Oof, that's good. That's a very hard question to answer, because I had so many. Let's say climbing on top of Machu Picchu, sleeping underneath the Milky Way galaxy. I don't know. It's quite a few.
Okay.
Yeah, that I have to get back to you on that one. There's a lot.
All right. All right. That's cool. That's cool. So, if your life was a meal, what kind of meal would it be?
My life was a meal. What kind of meal? I would say definitely mashed potatoes, Parmesan salad, and it would definitely be some sort of I would say a steak of some sort of red meat.
All right. Great.
And it have to be grilled.
All right. Cool. What was the last concert you've been to?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's the last concert I went to.
Okay. You enjoyed
That
it?
was of course, it was great. It was
Okay.
great. They had, let's see, I think before that was Def Leppard, and then Aerosmith, with Kid Rock opened up for them, U2, Prince, and Black Eyed Peas with the Pussycat Dolls. So we're talking years ago was that one.
Wow.
No, I haven't been to a concert in a while. Now that I think about it, I was like, I haven't really been anywhere to see anything, but yeah, I don't know. That's kind of hard to think. I was like, trying to think of which one, because it's been some years since I went to a concert.
Okay. That was great. So, would you rather be really cold or really hot?
Really hot. There's nothing worse when you're super cold.
Oh, yes, of course.
You have to go and get warm. At least when you're hot, you can drink all the liquid. You can pour things over your head, find some shade, things like that. Because, when you're cold, you're cold. Simple as that. It is like
Yeah.
once you start to shiver, you got to find warmth.
Mm-hmm. What bad habits you want to get rid of?
I love Pepsi. I
Okay.
want to get rid of drinking my addiction to soda. My
Okay.
one bad thing. Love my soda.
All right. Okay. Cool. Cool. So, did you have any role models growing up?
Yes, I did. The usual that kids have of athletes from, back then it was, let's say, Michael Jordan. You had also Magic Johnson, Emmett Smith for football, and then track and field, Carl Lewis. Um, it was mostly a lot of the dominance of Reggie Jackson for baseball, Lenny Dykstra, another one baseball for the Mets. Just there's a few here and there. It was mostly sports figures.
Okay. Great. If you switched lives with someone, who would it be and why?
Elon Musk,
Okay.
cutting edge technology, changing the world.
Ah, yes. I have to agree to that.
Yeah.
Doing amazing things right now, and I just love it.
Correct.
Fabulous. Oh, yes. So,
I like the fact that he's really interested in space and going in that direction, something we should have done 30 years ago. To
yeah.
go on and really explore clean energy, all that other lovely stuff, but really say, I'm going to go do this. And that's the whole thing where I give him a lot of credit, because how many people you run into say, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do it. And they just talk and talk and talk. And then you go and do it. You're like, yeah, I don't care for it. That was the thing about Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was giving a speech or something like that, or a conference, whatever. And this kid came up to him, young man, said, hey, I want to start this company. And, what do you think I should do? And he said, you shouldn't do it. He's like, oh, why? Why shouldn't I? He's like, when I started Apple, I didn't ask anybody, what should I do, how to start Apple. I just went and did it. And that reminds me of Musk. I'm just going to go do it. And that's what's great about people who are real pioneers or real entrepreneurs. They're just like, no, I got an idea. If it works, great. If it fails, I'll just redo it. Just keep going with it.
Oh, yeah. Great. Excellent choice. So, what is something you disagree with most frequently?
All the junk that's on the internet that people don't understand that is bad for them, as in, training wise. Just because something works for someone else and they look good and they have it nicely edited and music, it might not work for you. So you got to keep that in mind. And the fact that people that I'm kind of mad don't read anymore. They don't do research. They don't ask questions anymore. They just go on like sheep and just say, okay, let's just join the masses with them. That's like with the whole thing, the fitness industry, seeing all the fads coming. I'm like, it's a fad. It will go away. It's like, give it 6 months or a year. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, your Zumba dance thing didn't really work that well, did it? I'm like, oh, okay. Take it for what it is. Be honest with yourself. You're not gonna all of a sudden, like, I love there used to be infomercials, like the guy with the little wheel, the big bodybuilder sitting there doing this, basically reach outs with the wheel saying, I got this body from doing this 10 minutes a day. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is all we have for this episode. It was great having you here, Oscar, talking about how you started up your training studio and all the other fitness stuff and everything else. It's been amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Also, to the audience, I have a book. It's called Natural Strength. It's available on Amazon. So in there, you'll get all my celebrity so the workouts, which are named after them, and everyone else. So.
Okay, that seems interesting. I'll totally be looking at that afterwards.
Well, thank you.
Anytime. And until next time, stay tuned for more.